Alright, this is another edition of Flip Through Friday, and this one is going to be about the Pathfinder role-playing games, Bestiary, the original one. Now, I usually read through this for inspiration more than anything. I do take, basic monsters from here and tweak them, and things like that, but mainly I'll look through it and figure out, hey, I'm in a cavern, I'm going to throw a goblin at the players. Well, I don't necessarily go to the goblin and use it right out of the book. It's very rare that I use something right out of the book. So what I'll do is I'll reskin it, or I'll reskin something else that I think gives the vibe for the type of encounter I want. So you'll see as I flip through here, there's a lot of really cool monsters, and they tend to stick with a theme throughout the course of their books. This one is a lot of your more basic monsters. They try to cover a lot more with this one. But yeah, there's a lot of angels in here. There's, demons, got your basic dragons, some basic animals, things like that. That is awesome, the assassin vine. So, but yeah, these things are similar to angels, so. But anyway, so what I'll do is when I reskin a monster, so let's just pretend I'm creating an adventure real quick. So I'll create the premise and the story and, the hook and everything. And then I try to use monsters that would be good for the area. It'll be here. Anyways, I try to use monsters that would be good for that area. So say it's, might be underground, but if it's in a forested area, you might have forest monsters down in this cave. Or if it's in the mountains, you might have mountain monsters there. Or if it's a city, you might have city type, So it's not always just that, oh, it's underground, it's got to be this type of monster. It depends on the part of the world you're in and what things are like around that area. So, those are things to keep in mind before you do it. So once I get into it, I will look at the CR level and the XP. Now, CR2, I would throw that at a first level character, no problem. But I might tweak things. I might say, oh, armor class 14, that's not as tough as I want it to be hit. So I might up that to a 16, And then in conjunction with that, I might say touch at 10 is fine. Or if I know that I have a spellcaster that does a lot of touch attacks and I don't want him to be as effective, I might up that. Flat-footed, I might lower that, you know what I mean? So, and I don't always stick to whatever the game mechanics would say, like, oh, you're the dex mod and things like that. I just kind of put the numbers that I feel I want my encounter to best represent. Now, it's not for everyone, but that's how I do it. Some other areas to make note of are the speed. I might tweak that. The space that they take up, and then the reach. So those are things that I might tweak in any given encounter. So, Cyclops. Well, maybe I have a special race that's not necessarily Cyclops, but it's a lot like them. Okay, I might use the Cyclops. Armor class 19, I might say is too high. I might lower that to a 16. So there's different things I'll do to get the encounter that I want. A lot of people seem to follow the books, and there's really no need to do that. One of the things that tweaking these also allows me to do is when it comes, we come up to a random encounter, I don't need to flip to the book to say, oh, you've encountered a wild wolf. I'll just pull some numbers out and jot them down really quick in front of me. I won't even need to pull the book out, and there you go. I've made an encounter on the fly. But I think reskinning has helped me come up with how I would like to do it. It gives me an idea for what to expect between different CRs and things. And it just, I think it makes running a game a lot easier as well when you can pull the numbers out of your head, and you just know what you want them to be for these encounters. So there are a lot of water animals that I've never ran an encounter in the water, and it's interesting to me. But I flip through these books and I'll see a few pages with like sharks and dolphins and whales and things like that, and I don't see myself running an underwater encounter very often, and so I can't really imagine using those. But either way, I mean, it's still cool. So I don't know, maybe you want to put in the comments how you've done some water encounters. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Maybe I'll use them in a future game or something. But yeah, lots of different dragons. And they each get their own couple pages, which is good. I mean, I like it. Not that I necessarily would abide by it, but I like it. So, that's always been interesting to me too, that the older books, if I remember right, in 2nd edition, they have like a section that's, and maybe it's not, maybe it's a different book I'm thinking of, where it's got it says dragon, and then it has the different types and how to adjust it based on the types, but it's not like 2 pages for each dragon. So maybe it's not 2nd edition. I don't remember what it is. I'll have to look now at 2nd edition's monster manual. And there are rules in here for how to make these a player class, or player character. So I haven't tried to use them, but I probably should look into that. Here's my Earth Elemental that I used last game. I believe I used the large Earth Elemental, and I tweaked the armor class down. But yeah, because I didn't think they'd be able to handle it at an armor class 18. They originally were going into it a little bit low. They only had a cleric, a sorcerer, and a fighter. Well, we weren't sure about the 3rd player. We knew for sure it was going to be a cleric and a sorcerer. So yeah, and it was +9 damage, I think. So I figured, hey, I should tone this down so they stand a chance. Which I did, and I actually didn't use it as a CR5 either. I think I lowered it. But yeah. So I don't know. Do you guys reskin your monsters? If you do, I'd love to hear about it. Oh, that guy looks wicked. But yeah, I'd love to hear about your reskinning of monsters and things like that. Again, the artwork is beautiful in here. Love the F3D. And then I believe I have a miniature for her. I do have a miniature for her, which she's huge. I wish she was smaller, to be honest. But yeah, she's really cool looking. Ghoul, Cloud Giant, Fire Giant, Frost Giant, Hill Giant. I love these guys. I wish I had some miniatures for them. Stone Giants are really cool. They're awesome. The Gibbering Mouther. That would be a cool miniature. Alright, the Super Gorilla, as I call him. 4 arms. Gnolls are underused. I wish I had some Gnoll miniatures. I'd probably use those more. Goblins are awesome. Love using goblins. Clay Golem, which my daughter had painted our Clay Golem. Flesh Golem. Ice Golem. Iron Golem. Stone Golem. That's a cool one. I'd love to have a miniature for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lily would too.
That's cool.
Gray Ooze. Green Hag. Nope, that's Gray Ooze.
Yeah.
Okay, he's doing a video right now. Afterwards, we'll go outside. Go get some clothes. Yep, that's a griffin. Go get some clothes and we'll go outside after this. Got a griffin, a half celestial. Now I have a few griffins. I have a few griffin miniatures. Yep, thank you. Half dragon, which is interesting. Half Fiend. I know they have miniatures for those. Here I'm turning this video into talking about what I had. Wish I had. Harpies are pretty cool. I remember playing in a Palladium game and we got harpies thrown at us, so I always think of this one in that game. Or when I think back of that game. Hellhound, awesome. Hobgoblins. It's not how I envision my hobgoblins, to be honest, but horrors. So then you get into some Hydra, Hyena. You get into some nasty stuff in this book, really. I mean, there's no reason you would ever need more than this book if you wanted monsters. Kobolds, Iron Cobra. So now, since that is almost like DM Scotty's Purple Worm, but that is sweet. I love that. That should be his next project. So much like the Purple Worm, he could probably do it really easy. Lich. Linorms. Now, these things are pretty cool. There's a portion of the world in Galarian that it's called Land of the Linorm Kings, and they're almost like Vikings. And in order to be a king up there, you have to slay a Linorm and keep its head, or bring its head back. Very interesting, premise for becoming a king. And really, if you find a dead Linorm, you just take its head and there you go. In fact, one of the kings is rumored to have found a dead Linorm, and that's how he's a king. But there's a few kings up there. Mimic, very cool. It's always a treasure chest they use. They never use anything else really for the photos. Minotaurs, mites, Morlocks, Nagas. Nagas are cool. Mummy. Look at that. How is that? That's like almost the same picture. That's cool. I would love to use that. A night hag. Wow, that's a long book. It just shows how many monsters you could throw at your party. Jelly. Now, I don't know if WizKids has been doing this, but I know they use the translucent plastic now, the see-through plastic for some miniatures. Have they done that for things like the gelatinous cube and the oozes? Because that would be really cool. If you guys know if they have, let me know, or maybe you can link me to some. That'd be pretty cool. But a phoenix, that's cool. But yeah, I just feel like that would be really cool. One of my favorite, there's a purple worm. One of my favorite miniatures is actually the gray ooze. It was used as a rust monster, or gray ooze, but it was used to devour our magic weapons, or regular weapons in general, in our 2nd edition game. And, I thought that was pretty cool. I think I had full plate, I had just gotten it, and I was really excited, and I had it taken away from me. There's a rust monster. It was used against me, and, I didn't really care. I mean, it sucked that I had just gotten some plate mail that I wanted. That's an awesome one. But, I felt like it played with my emotions enough to make it a really cool use of gray ooze. And since that encounter, I've really, really enjoyed that miniature a lot more. It's made that miniature have some sentimental value to me. So I thought that was kind of cool. Maybe you guys have some stories about things like that too, where you've had an encounter with something that you never really cared or thought twice about, and it changed your thoughts altogether about that monster. That's something that definitely has happened to me more than once. So the frequency in which I get spiders, for example, as miniatures has made me use spiders a bit more in my encounters. I do have, I think, 3 that I've received in multiple different packages. I have a miniature for this troglodyte, and it's awesome. I love it. Love it. I like to pretend it's a lizard man too, though. But yeah, it's really cool. Troll, unicorn, vampires. So yeah, and the reason I did the video on this, I know this is following up another Pathfinder book, is because I think it's important, when you're getting into Pathfinder, that there's a few books that I would recommend. Like I said, it's the core rule book, the original bestiary, and that game mastery guide. I think those three are awesome. I think if you're going to add on to that, I think you go with the equipment guide, and maybe if you want the NPC Codex. I think those are good starting out books for anyone looking to get into Pathfinder. And the reason I say the NPC Codex and the equipment guide is because you can refer to the NPC Codex to quickly use as NPCs in your games. And if you're new to Pathfinder, you might not be the quickest at thinking on the fly in the terms of the numbers for these games. So you might want to use it straight out of the book. So that's why I say the NPC Codex. Now, if you're good at doing things on the fly like that, then don't waste your time with the NPC Codex. I mean, you can find books online, or not books online, characters online. These are all the rules back here about how, the way that the sizes change your CRs and things like that. All sorts of different things back here. But sizes, abilities, feats that monsters have, climates, different types of attacks. So, where you're going to find them. Creature subtypes. So it's basically all the rules on monsters, basically, back here. So taking this one book, you could create all the monsters you would ever want for any game. And with the books I mentioned, so the Ultimate Equipment book, the reason I recommend that is because there's a lot of things in there that, gives you tables for random treasure and things like that. But it also has a lot of wondrous items. Now, old school DMs, some new school too, I guess it doesn't really matter, like to create their own magic items. I know I personally do, as I did with our last session, where I created that potion of endurance just on the fly. Not on the fly, I planned it beforehand, but that was something I just came up with off the top of my head. I like to do that. I like to come up with certain magic abilities for certain items on my own. You might pick up a sword. Well, it's a magical sword. It's not automatically a +1 sword. It might deal certain types of damage to certain types of creatures. So for instance, it might be some kind of a fire sword that only hurts animals. So not monsters, it has to be an animal. Well, and it only does fire damage to that animal. So it's a regular sword until you fight that animal, and then it does fire damage to that animal. So if you're coming across a fire ant, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there, giant fire ants, I would count that as an animal, and it's not going to really do as much damage to the fire ant as it might do to we'll say a frost ant or an ice ant or something. So different properties to different magic items. So I like doing stuff like that. Or, for instance, in the new D&D Next, they have trinkets. Well, why not add magical properties to something like a water skin? Maybe the water skin also serves as a heater. It gives off subtle heat that is enough to keep somebody at their core temperature. Not enough to cook anything, but enough to keep you warm or something. I don't know. You could do a lot of different things. Or the tankard of frost, and it's always keeping your drinks cold no matter what. Different things like that I think are kind of fun. And you're not going to find those in the equipment guide, Ultimate Equipment. But you can get ideas from the Ultimate Equipment guide and things like that. So as a new DM, I think, especially for Pathfinder, the Ultimate Equipment Guide is a good thing to get as well. So there's probably like 5 books I would get. A lot of stuff is on the d20pfsrd.com, so go check that out. And if there's something not on there that you want, then go pick up the books you want. But this was the Bestiary, the original one. You really don't need any other monster manual for Pathfinder. So be sure to go pick this up if you are getting into running Pathfinder, and yeah, have a great day.